Hello everyone. So I'm back working the boat today. You can probably hear in the background the rain falling on the cover over the boat. We had a brief interlude of what they were calling summer here. It lasted I think for 2 days, and now we're pretty much back to service as usual. It's about around 10 degrees Celsius, raining pretty much constantly. So summer is looking all the more suspect every day. We're obviously hopeful that we do get some summer, but I really can't sit around waiting for summer to come, because it's I could be waiting another month for decent weather to arrive. So continue on with the work on the boat. Today what I'm looking at is the chain plates. I spoke about those in the last episode, and I'm going to take off the original chain plates and have a look at making these extended chain plates that I spoke about. So this is the inside of the chain plate, which is I've spoken about before. They actually have no backing plates on them whatsoever, which is an awful design. It's really just complete lack of care and consideration whatsoever. So there's no backing plate, so that's going to have to be fixed. And as well as that, I'm going to extend the chain plate a little bit higher, because I'm raising the height of where the rig is positioned. So just going to take this out, taking the first nut off, which came out pretty easy. The second one is a little bit tighter, but I think it's going to come out too. So just a matter of getting in there and loosening the nut off it. Not much space for moving in here, so it's basically a little bit at a time, but it is coming, so that's not too bad. Yes, these are pretty lousy design, these slot-head screws on the outside. That's what I was using the vice grips for, because I just intended to clip the vice grips on the inside and then unscrew it from the outside. So that's what I've done. I've got as far as this now, it's just kind of slipping. So I'm just going to get another pair of vice grips, clip it on there, and just wind out the rest of the way, because I'm not going to reuse these bolts. Put some decent bolts into it. So I've got vice grips on the inside, vice grips on the outside, and just twisting these out to undo it. That's not helpful. The hammer won't fit. Oh well. Where there's a will, there's a way. Yeah, so that's loosened it. Doesn't need to be much. Must be some kind of dry sealer on there, but it's not great. Just checking here, and this is the chain plate that I'm after taking off, and these are the ones for the backstay. They're exactly the same, they're identical, so all the chain plates are the same on the boat. Okay, so the work area looks a bit of a mess, but I just got some timber cut, thanks again to Derek. I went and used Derek's saw to cut some more of this Iroko planking that I need for finishing off the work on the boat. I have to make a hatch for the rear of the rear lazarette on the boat, so this is going to be the frame for that. I also got to cut out all this strip stuff that I'm going to be using for finishing on the companionway and the other hatches as well. So it's great to get all that done. What I'm going to be working on today is the chain plates. So first things first, we get the bench cleared off and make a bit of space to work. Okay, so chain plates. These are the chain plates off the boat. There's 6, 2 on port and starboard side, and 2 for the backstays. I just took one of them off because the other one's still attached to one of the wires on the boat. So I just didn't bother taking it off. It's detached from the boat, and it's just not going to do any harm now. So I'll just deal with that off the backstay, take it off, finally detach it from the backstay itself, at some point in the future. There's no hurry on doing that now. So they're all, as I said, identical, which is probably to be expected. Like, it's a mass-produced boat, and there's no reason I think they're going to make it any more difficult than they need to. In fact, they didn't really go to a lot of trouble when it came to these chain plates, because there's no backing plates whatsoever. And undoing the bolts, regardless of changing the style or the size of the chain plates, I'm glad I did take them off, because the bolts were little more than hand tight. They were literally half a turn more than hand tight. In fact, I'd say the paint that was on them was holding them more than anything else. So it's a really good job I took them off. The dimensions are 25 millimeters wide, and they're just about 2 millimeters thick, the material. So they obviously serve the purpose for the time the boat has been around, but I'm going to upgrade to something bigger and better. Now, I spoke about the fact that I'm going to extend the rig up, move it up in the new tabernacle I'm putting on, raise it up 80 mil. So what I'm going to do then is raise the height of these attachment points up 80 mil as well. Now, they come, as they did originally, they only came slightly above the top of the deck sides, but they're also going to extend up a little bit higher now. Also, I think it makes sense to extend them down a little bit lower. Any chain plates replacements I've seen anyone do on older boats, they always extend them down a little bit further and put an extra bolt in, so it gives a little bit more security, makes them a stronger job. And if you're doing it, you might as well do it better rather than just replicate what's already there. These were held in with little countersink or countersunk screw head type bolts. I'm not going to use them. I'm going to use proper hex head bolts on them. Yes, there is a slight possibility of things, lines hanging up on them and stuff like that, but I'm really not concerned about that. I want something that's going to be as strong as possible when I put them on. And also there's going to be backing plates internally on the hull as well. So that's the old material, and this is the new material. As you can see, it's considerably bigger. It is 40 millimeters wide, and it is 4 millimeters thick. So they're almost in the thickness, and they're double the size, and they're about 1.5 times as wide as the original ones. So that's definitely an upgrade. So the way I'm going to work this is I'm going to add my 80 mil onto the overall measurement. Like so. And then mark down from below that to get my positions, and that will mean that when I put the hole up here to match up with that, everything will line up. At least that's the theory. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make one, and then that's going to be the one I'm going to make everything else off of. So it'll just be like a template. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to go down another bolt hole. So if I line that one up with the centre of that one, that'll give me the same distance down for another. So the only concern I have about this position of this third bolt hole is 2 of the chain plates are actually located on the inside of the hull within a locker. So these obviously come above in an open position where you can access them, though it's slightly restricted. This one here is going to come underneath the sort of the structure within the cabin. So I'm just going to have to check to see before I go any further, does that actually clear in a place where I can actually get the bolt through. So obviously I have to be able to bolt it in. So I'm going to go and check that and see, and that way then I'll know if I need to maybe extend it down slightly further, or I'll just get a look in place to see how it looks before I go any further. Okay, so I'm going to go and do that. I'm going to head out to the boat, take a look at that, and then come back and continue from there. Right, so checked out on the boat, and on the basis of that I'm going to make the port and starboard chain plates slightly longer and move the third new hole that I'm putting in into a lower position. Observations, yes, I can do it, but my holes are not lining up perfectly. They're not lined up in the centre line. So how there's probably just movement in the drill that just drifted around a wee bit. So yes, I can make them, but I need to be more accurate with the line of the holes, which may mean drilling them somewhere else. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this one here to be my template for making the outlines. I can mark my position to my holes off of the lines that are here, but I'm not going to drill them out myself here. I'm going to bring them to another workshop and put them into their proper pillar drill that they have there, and I can put them into the vise there, lock them in place, and I'll have them moving around and drill them there. I think that'll be a better job, because yeah, making them, shaping them, I can do that no problem, but just the precision isn't there for drilling the holes out, and I might as well make them as accurate as I possibly can. Like, that's really not acceptable. It's they're not lining up vertically. Okay, well, it's the next day, and I finished up yesterday with making these pieces, shaping them out for the chain plates, and saying how I was going to take them to some other workshop where they have a pillar drill, and use that to drill them out. And that was fine, but thinking about it since then, I've kind of felt that that was a little bit, you know, a little bit disingenuous to the whole idea of what this sailboat renovation project is about, because the premise of it is that anyone can do this using basic tools, and, you know, bring a sailboat back from the dead and do what needs to be done and go sailing on it. So with that in mind, I've decided to try again to drill these chain plates myself using the tools that I have. So the drill press here that I have, such as it is, there's a bit of slop in the attachment between this pillar and the actual part that slides on the pillar. So what I did was took some handy dandy insulation tape and put single sort of strips around the pillar in a few locations. You can see it sticking out maybe here at the bottom, because overlapping it was too tight and it wouldn't slide then. So just a single loops around, and then slid the sliding part back down on the pillar to take that slop out of it, so there's no lateral sort of movement in it. So that's a kind of a bodge job, but it's done what it's meant to do. Then I moved this piece of timber that I have on this base here to line up so that the workpiece actually sits, so the drill, when locked in this position, is coming down on the centre line where I have the points marked with the centre punch. And then I fixed in this other piece of timber here, just screwed it to this board to hold the workpiece tightly in place. So it will slide along like that, but hopefully there'll be no movement. So we're a combination between locking this workpiece in place and taking the slot out of the drill press itself. I'm hopeful that that will make the difference, that I'll be able to drill them consistently and evenly in the centre of each workpiece by just taking each piece and putting it into this slot and sliding it along and drilling at the appropriate points. So I think that's a little bit more in keeping with the ethos of the channel and what this build is about, and I hope you agree. Yeah. Oh, that's acceptable. Okay, so that's the finished product. That's the chain plates drilled out, ready for bolts. You can see I have them squared up with the square, just to show that all the holes are worked out in alignment, and they're also centered within the chain plates as well. So I'm really happy with that. That's the setup there, with the drill in the sort of makeshift sort of pillar setup. I think I bought that for €5 in the car boot sale, of course, and just made this up with a couple of pieces of plywood and a couple of pieces of timber to hold that in place. So pilot drilled it with the 5mm bit, then finish drilled it with the 8mm bit for the bolts. Okay, so this is a while later. These two have full backing plates, which are one on the port and one on the starboard side. These two have full backing plates, that's the two backstays. And then these two have split backing plates because part of these two bolts come through in a locker in the top, and then the other new bolt holes I'm putting in come out in another locker underneath. So I'm not going to shape and cut these to size because there's not much point in finish shaping them and then having to cut them when I come to put them in place. So I'm just going to leave them as they are until such time as I go to fit the chain plates. Okay, so that brings us to the end of another episode. I feel really good about the fact that I used the tools that I had at hand rather than going to another machine shop and using a drill press there. So I stuck to the ethos of using the basic tools and got the job done myself. So if you've enjoyed watching this video, please remember to give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.